back to tech now. This is part two of our note keeping app, and this is the second UI we're gonna create. So here we have created a file with the name note underscore d2.dat, and then it's inside the screens word folder. Okay, good. So here in our main, we were using this class from here, but since we want to test this, we'll be using the class note detail for this one. Okay, for this one. So let's get started. Before we get started, don't forget you need to import this one here, and also we need to have an extent of this class here. Okay, so to do that, we call the keyword class, and then we extend the stateful widget here. So stateful widget, and then the stateful widget will have the create state inside. Okay, here. Then we have the create state in here, and inside the create state we need to return another class that we'll be creating very soon, and the another class will be the note detail state. Okay, note detail state, we don't need this one here. I clean this E here. Okay, just like this. So let's create this class as well. So this is immutable. We're gonna create the mutable class. Okay, good. So that one, another class here, and then this one will extend our create state class. Okay, so let's extend this, state. So here will be the state, and then state into to extend this side here. Okay, good. And for this mutable state class, we'll be having our build method in here. Okay, so let's call the build method. Build method, yeah, we'll have our build in here. Why am I not good? Okay. Okay, so let's call the build here. Okay. Oh, this is a cup. Okay, then let me see here. Not detail state. Okay, correct. So we call a build context. That is correct. Okay, then inside the build we'll be returning a scaffold. Okay, inside the build we'll be returning a scaffold. Let me clear here. Okay, so let's return a scaffold here. Scaffold. Okay, then I terminate this. Okay, excellent. So inside our scaffold we actually gonna have a static variable we'll later on use in the code. Okay, so static var, and that should be underscored priorities. Okay, that is the name of the variable, and it should assign to strings. Okay, let us assign this one to strings. Okay, this will be 2 strings. We'll call the first string the high priority, so just high, and then low priority, so just low. Okay, correct. Okay, good. So that is a variable. So we said this variable is actually static var, and the variable name is what? Priorities. Okay, and it's high and then low. Okay, after our priorities, after our priority, what should we do next? Let's have our return. Let me see here. Let's have our this should be actually be on top of our variable, should be on top of our build widget. Perfect. Okay, good. So after that, we can add our code here. That is, we are looking at the app bar. Okay, so let's first look at the app bar inside our code. We need to have something like this here in our second screen. Okay, so we use the app bar, then app bar, yes, and then the app bar will have a test widget. Okay, so inside our app bar, we're gonna have the test widget. Tests. Let's start with a capital T. Okay. Oh, capital T, then EXT, and this test widget will return a simple. But before that, I left out this is a keyword, that is the title. Yeah, let me clean. I bring the title before the test widget. Okay. And inside the test widget, we'll have a string, and this will be the name of what? Of our UI. So we have edit note here. Good. Edit note. So we have that one set. Okay. After our app bar, what are we gonna do? What we'll be doing is to add our body padding. Okay. So body padding to wrap around our design for it to look really cool. So we call the body, and then we have our padding, that is the padding that will wrap all our app. Okay, so padding, and for the padding we're gonna have the page insert here. Okay, I'm opening it wide because we'll be having a lot of other widget in there. Yeah, that's why I'm opening it wide. Okay, so here inside this main body, we're gonna have our padding edge insert that will wrap around all our other widgets that we are yet to write. So I call the padding edge insert dot only. Yeah, let's use the dot only, and then we'll say inside our body, let's have a padding top of probably 15.0. Okay, then let's also look at the left of our padding. Yeah, left we give it 10.0. Then we'll give the right side also 10.0. Okay, perfect. Okay, good. So what do we do next? What will we do next? What is this? Yeah, this is not supposed to be there, so I clear that. So inside this, we're gonna have our child list view here. We're gonna wrap all our other widgets inside this list view. Okay, So child list view, perfect. So after our list view, we'll have our children in here, our children widget in here. So here, children and children will have a holder of widgets here. Okay, perfect. All right, so now we have this set, but this one we're gonna have all our other widgets in here. So let's check that we have our closing everything perfect, because we're gonna have a lot of code in between these ones. So we need to make sure our comma and all that closing and everything looks really cool. Okay, so let's open this one. That is our children. Everything will be inside here. Okay, good. So let me go over. We have our app bar. We have our body with a padding that is wrapping around all our widgets, upcoming widgets. Then we have a child with a list view. So everything is gonna be in the list view, and the list view has to have a property of children with appended widgets. Okay, so let's add our first element inside our children. So let's call it element 1. This is a comment, element 1, so that we can track our code well. Okay, so for element 1, we'll have a list style. Yeah, a list style. And this list style will actually have our drop down button in here. List style. Inside our list style, we'll have our title with a drop down button. Okay, so title will be a drop down button. Drop down button. Okay, drop down button. Perfect. Okay, good. Inside our drop down button, what will we gonna have? We don't need the focus now. Okay, so like this. Perfect. Trying to check my endings well. Okay, inside the drop down, we will have items, and that items will be our variable values will be pulled in here. So we're going to make use of this. So this variable will be appended to the map function. Okay, map function, and inside the map function, we're going to have a return type of a string with another parameter of a drop down that is user defined. So drop down string drop down string item. Okay, item. Good. And this one will be down, drop down. Okay, drop down here. Drop down, and we have a comma here. Perfect. So inside our item with the variable priorities, that is mapped to our map function, and it has two parameters: string, it's returning a string with a user defined parameter drop down string, and inside this drop down string will be the value and also the text to return. Okay, so we have value here, value like this, and then the value will be this drop down string item, and then we'll have the child of a test child. Okay, and this child will do what? Will simply return a test. We'll have the test widget in here. So test, the data will be what test it's gonna return. It's gonna return the same what parameter here, but this shouldn't be in a single quote. Okay, perfect. So we have a drop down. Are we missing something out? Yes, we are missing something out. From here, we need to return actually our drop down menu, and this should be the values that will be coming out of the drop down menu. Okay, so with that, let's have this. This is for the drop down menu. Let's have this code in here, and this code will have let me see, this one should be inside of this. Yes, our value should be here, and then we'll have a return. Let me add this first here, a return of a drop down menu item. Yeah, drop down menu item like this, and we need to add this to it. Drop down menu item, and that will also be returning strings. And inside here, inside our drop down menu item, let me terminate this first. We need to have, this should be off. We need to have our value, everything in here. Okay, perfect. But let's see, drop down menu. So drop down menu is here, and drop down menu only have this closing item. This is correct. Yes, and then we have this one here, and then we have this one here. So we're gonna have another closing one here. Yes, perfect. And then we need to append it to string. To list rather. It's gonna display in the list function. So to list, comma. All right, perfect. Perfect. Okay, so our code is perfect. All right. So my bat is low. Okay. Next is to add our second element. So we have this list style. Let's open this wide from our widget area so that we don't confuse anything. So this is our first element. Let's now add our second element. Okay, so from here we have our first element. Here we're gonna have element 2. Okay, good. So second element is here. Simple. And what will be our second element? Our second element will also have a simple pattern and a child with an input text field. Our first element, we have the list style, right? The list style is here. Our second element, we're gonna have a text field instead here. Here we have list style, but here we have a test field. So let's do that. But before that, we're gonna wrap our test field inside a very cool padding, and this padding will help us, adjust it very well on the screen. So we use the padding, and then we wrap our test field inside the padding. Okay, just like this, our second element. Okay, then for our padding, we'll have the edge insert of what? Edge insects. Oh no, let's use the edge insert only. Yes, only. So for the edge insert, we're gonna use the top, let's say a top of 15 and then a bottom of let's say 15. Yes, so top 15 to 0, then we have the bottom of what? Bottom of 15.0 as well. Okay, so our pattern is set. So inside our pattern, let's have let's have our test field. So test field, to add a test field to our pattern wrapper, we need to start with the keyword child, and then the child will have our test field. Okay, good. So let's look here. Test field. Okay, test field like this. Okay, I open it wider. Okay, and inside our test field, what are we gonna have? We're gonna have our unchanged value. Okay, because it's a test field, so we need to have a handler inside our test field, and we also need to look at probably a controller for our test field. Every test field needs to have a controller so that it can check whether it's validated, is not validated, there's an input, there's something happening inside the test field. So this controller is actually provided by Flutter to help us control everything inside our test field or any input field we have. Okay, so I haven't created our controllers, but we can do that very quick inside our state that is here. Okay, so beneath our variable, let us add our test field controller, since we're gonna use that very soon. So we'll be having two test field controllers. So that will be called test editing controller. Test editing controller, because we'll be entering test, and then this needs to actually check what is happening in our test field, and this is provided by Flutter. So we have a title controller, that is our first one, the title controller. Okay, title controller, first one, and this title controller will be equal to the test editing controller. Okay, test editing controller. So let's assign it to equal to the same test editing control function. Okay, perfect. Then the next one will be what? Test editing controller, but this one will be for our test description, because we have the title of our note, so title controller here, and then we have our detail what? Input field, and so we're gonna use description controller. Okay, so this is just a variable that will help us control our input field. So let's add what? Description. Okay, we're gonna have another input field called the description. So this will be the controller for the description input field. Description. Okay, perfect. So we have our test editing controllers up there. So first will be the first test field. Will have this to control our test in here. So here we have our test field. So inside here, we're gonna have our controller here inside our test field, and that is pretty much simple. We only open this, and inside this we'll have what we call the controller. Okay, the controller, and the controller will be assigned to this because we have assigned this to the what, the test editing what controller already at the top, so we only call the name of the variable. Then we need to add a handler here, and that handler we're going to use the onChange handler. Anytime we do something, this should help us find what is happening, and then it should check the value inside. And since we are not really gonna do something inside here, let's do something inside our console by using the debug print. Okay, debug print, and that will help us see changes inside our console when we do something inside our input field. Okay, so and here, let's say we write something here. Let's say something changed in the title field. Okay, so a change happened here, and where is the here? Here is the what? A test field. Let's say title test field. Okay, title test field. Perfect. Just to only monitor it in the console. All right, so we are almost done with this second element, but after that we would like to add a border. Yeah, a border to our test field. We want to just decorate the border. So how will we do that? To do that, let's add the test field decorator. This will help us just design our test field to look a bit better. That's all, nothing much. So we use the decorator, and the decorator is simple like a test field. Okay, like a style, test style. Yeah, so but this one is for test field. Okay, so what are we going to decorate? We are going to decorate the input. The input, let's use the input decorator here. So everything around the input decorator, we're gonna do that here. So for that, what are we gonna start? Probably we'll have a label inside this, a label. Okay, so we're gonna have a label, and then the label needs to start with the label test, and then we'll have a test inside our test what field. So what are we going to write as a label? Let's write simply title. Title. Okay, inside our label. Apart from title, do we have something else we want to also check? Yes, we want to also look at the border radius. The border radius should look cool, so let's call the border and border outline. Okay, we are looking at the outline of the border. So outline, outline what? Outline input border. Outline input border. Outline input border. Yes, this one. This outline input border. Perfect. So for this outline input border, inside we will have what we call the border radius. Border radius inside here. Border radius. So we only call the property border radius, and what will be our border radius? Border radius, and our border radius will be circular. So let's use the circular, and this circular, around it we want it to have at least a circular edge of 5.0. Yeah, that is cool. 5.0. Okay, 1 2 3. So let me see this one here. The outline is here. Okay, then the creator, no. So let's have another closing here, and then 1 2 3 input. Okay, for the test field. Outline border, okay, border radius. Okay, good. Then we have the test style. Okay, let's watch here. What is this? Pardon? This pattern is for this, and well, from this we don't need this. Okay, because this pattern is actually for this one. Yeah, here. Border. Border radius is radii circle. You're trying to check this first. Yeah, first let's take out this. Yeah, I'll double check with this. Okay. This is our pattern. Okay. This pattern. Oh, okay. This decoration. tests. Oh, yeah, we have a test field. Where is the test field? List view is there, test field. Element 2, pattern child controller. Then we have the child. This child, it's, oh, okay, so the test field should be concluded. Okay, test field is here. Okay, and then the pattern should we have okay, perfect. So we have the second element fixed. Yeah, I wanted to add some designs here, but before that, let us hold on to that. I will add it later on. Yes, let's add our third element. Okay, so we have this as our second element. We have our third element, number 3. Okay, so for our third element, we're gonna also add almost similar thing. Okay, but here we'll also be having the same, just like this, but this one will have a different title, but we'll add that later. Okay, that is our decoration description. That will be the text description. Okay, so test field is here. We have the on-chain controller. Then we can add our, this should be, this is not the title. The second one will be the description. Okay, so let's add, instead of title, we add description. Okay, good. Then we save. So that is the second element. Okay, the third element, sorry. So in the third element, we'll be adding a label description to this in our decorator later on. Okay, good. So let's add our last. Let me see. After our third, we're gonna add another fourth element, and those ones will be the button. Yes, the button that we're gonna display on the screen. But let's see what we have done so far. Yes, I'd like us to see what we have done so far by, how are we going to see that? We need to change this one to this details. Okay, then I save. Okay, so this is what we have. We have the input field, one here, one there, and then we have our drop down, which is still not working. So let's see, we add the fourth element to it here. Okay, we say element 4. Okay, yeah, so for element 4, we'll also put our design inside the pattern as we've done here, just like this. But in here, Instead of having a test field, we'll be having a child with a row and then two children, and that will be the two buttons. Okay, so we keep this the same, but we change this. This will be changed into a row because we're gonna have two buttons here, a row, and for the row we'll have two buttons inside this row. Okay, good. So inside our row, let's have children here, and for our children we'll be having two buttons here. Don't forget to add your widget here. Okay, and inside this widget we'll be having our first child, and that child will be our first what button. Okay, good. But before that, least I forget, we need to put the button in the expandable, and this expandable will make the button really looks cool. Expand, you call it expanded. Okay, and then the child will be inside the expanded. Excellent, like this. Okay, and for the child will be what, the button. Okay, the child will be a button, and we're gonna use the elevated button, and for elevated button we'll have inside some tests. Okay, for our elevated button we'll have only tests. Expand, elevate. Okay, so inside our elevate button we're gonna have a test inside this, and the test will have an inscription of save. Okay, good. So child tests, and this test, what will be the data in here? The data in here will be what? Save as the inscription. And we can also make sure the test displays very boldly by using the decorator test scale factor of our test. So here, this should be inside the test. So bring a comma here. Then we have our test factor, test scale factor. That should be like how the test should display. When we use test scale factor, should be what, 1.5. Okay, so we are done with this one, the first elevated button. Okay, but we can add the OnPress, and this OnPress will not really do anything. Okay, elevate. So after our test, we're gonna have the OnPress. Let's use the OnPress, and the OnPress will have an anonymous function. An anonymous function, and what will we do in this anonymous function? Only to use the debug prints. Okay, debug print. Debug print, let's say when we press on that, it should say something saved, clicked. Yeah, very easy. Okay. So what is this button here? Okay. Good. So we have our save. Next is what? We need to add another button, okay? And that button will be in a row. Yes. And then that will be a second what? Expanded. And then we'll only change the name of the tests, right? And then the action. That's all. So inside our children, we'll have a second elevated button wrap around the expand, but it will change to, the name will change to delete, and here delete click. Okay, good. So we have two buttons beneath. So what are we gonna do here? I think we are almost done, but I want us to put a container in between these two buttons so that at least it will have some space here. So to do that, inside, in between this, let's put a simple container. We call it container. Container, and this container will have a width. Just to put some space in there. So we have the width of let's say 5.0. Yeah, 5.0 is not bad. 5.0, just like this, then we save. Okay, now after we have that container, do we have to do something else? Okay, so now we have the space in here. Now we still have to add a decorator to this element. Okay, this element, and then this to also display really well, we need to look at our third element and then our second element by adding a decorator into our code. Okay, so let's watch here. The second element, or the element 2, I want us to still add a decorator here. Oh, should be inside. So we use the decoration. No, not this one. Decoration. And then the decoration will have an input decoration. Okay, like this. Yeah, let me see. Decoration. On change. Oh, our on change, we need to end this here. Okay, and this needs to have a comma here. So we have the decoration, and then we have the input decoration. Okay, input decoration. And for our input decoration, what are we gonna have here? TestField. So Okay, so we have a label, label style. We have a label style, but no, let's use the label test. Label style, label test, yes. Label test, and what will be inside our label? Simple title. Title, yeah, title. Okay. After our title, let's have the border, and then we simply want to add the border outline. Okay, outline input border. This one, outline input border. And for the outline input border, what should we have? Outline input border. Then we'll have the radius inside this rather. So border radius, and border radius, we are looking at probably border radius, and this border radius we should have border of what? Border radius dot circular. And the circular radius should be somewhere around 5.0. Okay, 5.0, correct. Okay, so I think this one is not bad, it's good. So we have this, perfect. So we have our border radius here, and that is really cool, right? So why don't we add the same thing to our, we add the same thing to our element 3 here. Okay, so inside will be inside. Let me copy this and replace this with that third one. Okay, then we're gonna have this one to be the description. Okay, so description test. Perfect. Then so now we have two of this, one here description, and then one here title. Okay, perfect. Then we're gonna check our element 1. Element 1, because we need to check our drop down. Okay, so for our element 1, we have the list. Okay, the drop down button, we have the item, and the item is returning a string drop down string item. Okay, so a map function, okay, returning a drop down menu item. Let me see, drop down menu item, and it's returning a string, and inside that we have the value drop down string item. Okay, comma, child test drop down string item, comma. Okay, then we append it to the to list. Okay, What we did not do here is we left out the value, and beneath this you need to have the value, and also here we need to have the value here, value, and that will be the default value. It should be low, okay, perfect. And then we add the on a change state. Anytime we select a different one, it should show that one, okay. So we use the on change here, on change, and then for on change, we will have the value selected as a parameter. So we have an anonymous function, and the value here should be simply value selected, okay, value selected by user, yes, by user, okay, perfect. Then inside here we should have the set state, set state is another anonymous function, and inside the set state, since we are not doing anything here, we use the debug print, okay, for now. So we have the debug print, and we're gonna print a very simple word, test on the screen. So debug print, and then we have inside our debug print, let's have this, the string user selected what, we don't know, selected this value, okay. So this value here, user selected this value, use the $, and then the value, okay. And let's save this, perfect. Okay, so we now have this drop down high. Oh, the low is the default, high, high. Oh, only the default is showing. Let me see. Then on a change, value selected, and then the set state. Oh, okay, I got it. It's gonna show inside our console, yeah, here. So yeah, but in our previous video we're gonna fix this, okay. So you can see user selected high, yeah. So in our next video we're gonna make sure this actually works, because we're gonna add the functionalities to it. This was a long video, but we needed to take our time in order to get the codes right. All right, so with a peace, we're out.